Hi guys, welcome back for day 2 of Inktober. This is the first time in a long time I've actually straightened and styled my hair, so my bangs are a little unruly because I kind of forgot how to do it, but I finished this piece last time for the first day of Inktober. This was my Skeletons at TSA piece. Again, super happy with how it came out. I cannot believe that I actually am getting to use the gray microns that I mistakenly bought. So happy about that. But I am all set to get ready on this next piece. So for my Inktober series this year, I kind of wanted to do ironic pictures of classic Halloween monsters on vacation or going on vacation. So skeleton going through TSA. Why would a skeleton need to go through a metal detector? It's a skeleton. This next one is going to be a mummy at a spa. Here's my thumbnail for it. Get a little bit of a better view of it there. But yeah, this one, it's definitely not as ironic as the skeleton going through the metal detector, but I still find it really funny because obviously a mummy, a spa day is not gonna do a whole lot to revive their complexion. But I really wanted to do this one with either a zombie or a mummy, and I decided on the mummy because I wanted it to be wrapped up in a towel, and then I wanted the bandages to kind of be an extension of the towel to accentuate how ridiculous it is. So I've got my little thumbnail done, and I'm actually kind of nervous to get started on the sketching part of this piece because I got so used to inking the last one that I kind of feel like I'm not prepared for this. So I'm just gonna, you know what? Let's start out like we did with the last piece where we just draw in the background real quick. I'm gonna start with this doorway right here. So I think I want the doorway to be pretty close to the edge of the paper because I want to fit in this little windowsill shelf as well as this plant in the corner. So I want to leave a lot of room for that. So I'm just gonna start kind of doing what I did last time and sketching out some really rough lines for where I want everything to go in the background. And then I can sort of build the character around that. I've also got the floor visible this time instead of the ceiling, and it looks like the floor is a little bit more than a quarter up the page in my thumbnail, so that's what I'm gonna attempt to do right about there. I think the one thing that I actually disliked about my last piece was the ceiling, unfortunately. There was a point where I just kind of decided to wing the line art, and I really shouldn't have done that because it resulted in a pretty wobbly line in the ceiling tile. I'm debating whether or not I want to Photoshop that out. I kind of think I will if I decide to sell prints of these because it is very distracting, at least for me. Because the other thing is, I'm a digital artist. I don't think that Photoshop and photo manipulating your art, I don't think that that's cheating at all. You're just using another tool to kind of get the result that you want, and that's perfectly fine. However, if you decide to use Photoshop for photo manipulation specifically, and you do not disclose that you're using Photoshop, you try to sell the Photoshopped piece as genuine, that's where I have a problem. So if I were to Photoshop that piece, just that little line that I have an issue with, and I didn't tell anyone that it was touched up in Photoshop, that's where I would have an issue. Because it's lying. That's all it is. There's no ifs, ands, or buts around it. It's just a lie. Same goes with Facetune. As long as you're acknowledging that you're using Photoshop, yeah, use it. It's a tool and it's meant to be used. But if you're gonna lie about it and say that you didn't use Photoshop because you feel like that makes you look or feel superior, that's a little weird. I'm just gonna say it, that's weird. All right, the line connecting the floor to this wall is not actually visible in the thumbnail. He's just he's laying on a bed that kind of hides it, but I do want to draw it just so I can get a little bit of a visual of how the bed is supposed to sit. And I am actually gonna change the angle of this hallway because it feels a little steep right now. And then using that same angle, I'm gonna bring it up to the windowsill here, just so everything kind of looks like it's all in the same perspective. I'm not doing a lot of perspective work on these pieces. I kind of discussed that in the skeleton drawing, and that's just because I'm not super comfortable with using perspective on traditional media. When I use perspective in digital media, that's a little bit easier for me to do because I can kind of use the tools provided to me to get a really flawless perspective, but I just need a little more practice to be able to do that on my own. So while we are messing around a little bit with perspective in these pieces, I'm definitely not being very strict about it. I should have a level or something I can sit on top of my ruler so that I know that these lines are straight, because I feel like the lines on the ground and the bottom of the windowsill are a little bit crooked. I don't know yet. Little table right here I want to include. Yeah, I think this line is a little crooked. Let me try and fix this. Okay, I think instead of diving into the shelves over here, I'm gonna do the little spa bed next. There are these shelves with some materials on them over here, but I think I need to get the bed that he's gonna be laying on in there before I do that, just so I can like get him in the room and hopefully get this perspective to look okay. Okay, I think that's a pretty acceptable height. Oh man, perspective is hard, guys. It's really difficult. When I do it all sketchy like this in the thumbnail, I can definitely see like where the bed is supposed to be versus the wall, and it looks correct. This does not look right at all. This end looks way higher than this end, even though I measured them. I feel like I kind of just need to get the basic shapes in, and then I can go in and eyeball it so that it looks a little more pleasing to the eye. Right now, this is not looking great, I'm gonna be honest. You know what I think it is? I think it's because I'm only on one plane of perspective right now, and I need to get the like two converging. That wasn't a good example of my arms, but like how things in the distance are going to appear smaller than things closer to you. I need to make the head of the bed appear just slightly smaller than the foot of the bed. And I think that's going to help me, instead of just making everything the exact same angle. Might be a little bit too high, but it's getting there. I think that's pretty good. I think we're getting there. I think I'm gonna need to do the same thing with the window actually. Just deepen that angle a little bit. Yeah, the only lines in this piece that should be parallel are the horizontal lines. I'm learning. Should they even be parallel? Actually, they shouldn't even be completely horizontal now that I'm thinking about it. They should be going a little bit more at an angle. You know what? I'm gonna erase everything aside from the walls, and we're gonna start from there. I'm doing this quickly only because I kind of learned from my last piece that like you can't be too precious about things with traditional art. If I want to start something over, I gotta start something over. Okay. Actually, I think this is gonna help a huge deal because I want the lines that are supposed to be going horizontal, like where the floor meets the wall, I actually want to put those at a bit of an angle because we're looking at this room from an angle. Oh, that's going to be so much better. And this is going to be about at the same angle as the door, the hallway rather. Yeah, that's the shape that this room should be. I definitely had the perspective completely wrong. That's okay, live and learn. Move on. Yeah, this looks so much better, much less flat than it did before. And actually, before I put the window in this time, I'm actually gonna do the bed first. All right, this top of the bed isn't working. Sometimes you just gotta freehand it, because I feel like your eye knows better than your ruler sometimes. So I'm just gonna freehand this and then go back in with the ruler and kind of smooth everything out. I just have to let the bed go. I have to let the bed go and trust the process because it's not looking good to my eye right now. But I think once I get the character on top and like the shelves and everything in the background filled in, it'll look fine. In fact, you know what? Screw the ruler. I want to do everything kind of as freehand as possible because I just feel like my eye knows better than the ruler does when it comes to kind of instinctual things. Like I've been doing this for so long, just using my perception and kind of like mimicking reality using my eyeballs, that it feels more natural to just kind of freehand things than trying to go by what the ruler tells me. Because I'm not used to using the ruler as a tool. So I could very well be using it wrong in a sense. And that's okay, just gotta get better at it. So I guess if anyone has any advice on how to use a ruler and how to get your perspective to look a little better, please let me know. Because again, I'm very new to this. I know how to do it in digital because you can put the vanishing point anywhere you want in digital. But for me, if the vanishing point is like way over here, I don't know if you can see this on the camera, but just pointing like it's way off my canvas, I don't know how to stay true to that in a traditional space. So in this instance, any advice is welcome. But I think I've gotten the background pretty much to where I want it, at least like the shapes of everything. So I think I'm gonna turn off my face camera because I've been having issues with it running out of battery. I'm gonna turn off my face camera. I'm just gonna use the time-lapse camera for now, and I'm going to finish off the sketch for this piece. And I will be back to do some inking, okay? See you in a bit. All right, I am back with the finished sketch. I do apologize for, I'm assuming some of that time-lapse footage got cut out because my camera shut off at some point and I don't know when. So I apologize for however much of that got cut off. I know at least I was able to do the character on camera, so at least there's that. But I think this is ready to be inked. And I'm actually really stoked. I'm a little bit like, not ahead of schedule on this one because I did have to take a couple days off there where I was just completely unmotivated to do anything. But I am excited to be able to sketch and start inking this in the same like drawing session. It's finally getting cool enough and I'm so excited. It is finally getting cool enough that I can sit in my studio without having to turn on the AC at any point. I'm wearing a cardigan today, although I might have to take this off because it is getting a little warm. But I can sit in here without having the AC on because if I did have the AC on, it would be, since it's right here, unbelievably loud and no one wants to hear that. So basically, I'm really happy that I can like have these long drawing sessions now without having to turn off the camera because the AC is running or just stop drawing because I can't record anything. So it is time to start inking. I did notice while I was drawing this, because this is not something I thought of, but now I'm like really happy that I chose a mummy instead of a zombie. The towel on his head, I've shaped into like a death mask headdress that pharaohs would wear. So I'm very excited to be able to include that little detail. I think it's so freaking adorable. He is gonna have a face mask on. I don't know yet if I'm going to have the bandages go all the way up his face or just stop right here on the neck. I'm not entirely sure because I do like this little like kind of face he has, the mouth, and I don't really want to hide that. And I feel like it would be hidden if I did a face mask and bandages underneath the face mask. So we'll see. I am going to try and start here left to right again. This piece is also a lot less intensive than the skeleton piece because if you remember, the skeleton piece was just like a huge room full of people. There was a huge crowd in that. So I'm a little less intimidated to start on this one because it's just one character in one room. So I think I'm just gonna start with this little candle over here. And I don't really know, I'm gonna do the flame kind of broken up, kind of sketchy a little bit, because obviously I don't wanna do like a black outline on a candle flame because candle is supposed to be light. Fire is supposed to be literally a light source. So now that we've gotten down to the wick, I'm gonna darken that out, but I think that's pretty good for the candle, or for the fire. And then I'm gonna draw the wax first, and I'm gonna use the shape of the wax to kind of determine the shape of the jar that it's in. The sketch is not very clear what shape the jar is, so I figured if I just do like the candle first, I can kind of draw a jar around that. There's our little candle, and then I'll just kind of do something like this for the jar. I haven't decided yet if I want, because there's a lot of candles in this room. There's one here, and one up here, and I haven't really decided yet if I want them to be uniform or if I want to do like a bunch of different looking candles. These two can probably be the same. This one is really big looking, so that might be one of those like 3-wick candles. Go. A little wonky, but that's okay. Like I said when I was doing the skeleton piece, I do want these to look a little bit sketchy. I don't want them to be perfect lines. And then I think instead of having the lip come outwards, I think I'm actually gonna dip the jar in. We're freehanding it, and then that will be at the top. I realized halfway through drawing that line that this is exactly what got me in trouble on the last piece, was just deciding to freehand some stuff. But it's also what made the last piece fun. So I'm just gonna go for it. I'm not gonna worry too much about getting a perfect sketch done before I start inking. I think that's pretty good. I think I wanna do, just to get a little bit more texture in here, kind of like a towel or something on the stand that this candle is on. Ooh, that might have been a mistake because that is at such a bad angle. Like that's at the worst angle actually. Should I fix that? This might have been a mistake. Let me do this. We can kind of figure out where that's supposed to go from there. Maybe if I just do some shading over here, I can pretend it's like a shadow being cast by the candle. That's not horrible. It kind of looks like a little wrinkle in the, what is this, like a placemat, I guess it would be considered. I'm just trying to put something under the candle, like some sort of fabric, so that it's not sitting directly on top of the presumably wood nightstand or whatever furniture this is. Let me futz around with some shading here. I think that works. A little bit of a refracted effect here. I'll tell you, if you want something to look like glass, your #1 friend is refraction, which is basically when you look through a glass and there's an object either in it or behind it, it kind of looks like the object is broken. I'll throw up like a reference here of what I mean. but just like futz that a little bit. So the line going this way, I just brought it up a little bit and didn't connect the edges of the line art so that it looks like whatever is behind the glass is being refracted. It's such an incredible tip that I learned a while ago, and I use it all the time. And then we're not gonna do anything funny on the furniture here. I'm going for very basic, like IKEA furniture. I feel like that's very classic for a spa. It's very modern looking, very basic furniture. Part of me wants to shade in this piece of, like this side of this end table, but on the other hand, I think I'll just wait until like I shade with the gray microns. I think shading that in now would be a little bit too premature. I am just gonna darken up some of these lines though, so that we can tell what's supposed to be tablecloth and what's supposed to be furniture. You know what I should have done, actually? I should have made the tablecloth going this way so that you could see it draping over the side. That would have been a good idea. Oh well, let's do this wall back here. Being very careful with our straight lines. I am gonna include some baseboard though. I feel like the walls need a little bit more detail. Make sure we get that refraction in again. I don't want to put like a picture here. It might be too narrow though. I was thinking like a picture of some waves or something, just something really generic. I'll see how I feel closer to the completion of this piece. Make sure the little bed that he's laying on has some draping sheets. Boy, I'm already doing a lot of freehanding on this, and I really need to step back from that because that is what really screwed me over the last time. So just gotta be careful with it. Oh, not bad. Because I want the sheets to look pretty like clean and neat and very straight and pristine, but at the same time there's someone laying in the bed, so like they're not gonna be picture perfect. Usually the time-lapse camera tells me, like it does a little beep when it stops recording, but it has not been doing that lately. And I'm getting a little frustrated because I have absolutely no idea when it stops recording. It's a cheap camera. I don't even know why it decides to stop recording sometimes. It's not because it's out of memory. It's not because the battery's dead. It's just like, okay, that's enough recording time for you. I'm done. And it just decides to stop. It's very frustrating. All right. Continue with this baseboard here. And I think everything else in the background here is kind of dependent on where the figure goes, so I'm gonna start working on him first. Got his little pillow here, which I kind of tried to make look like a one of those memory foam pillows, because I always think those are very like luxurious and spa-like. I'm being a lot less careful on this one than I was with like my first piece, and I think it's just because this one is not as intimidating to me. Like it's a figure in a room. I've drawn this a million times before, obviously not this exact design, but like that's my whole thing is drawing characters. Whereas drawing a room full of characters at airport security, no less, was a little bit more intimidating. I think for the face mask here, I'm just gonna do just kind of like the outline of it. Doesn't need to be too exaggerated. Maybe a little extra little crumb right there. This is actually such a hard face angle for me to draw. And for some reason, I keep attempting it. Well, the reason is because I want to get it right someday. It's just really frustrating to try and make that distinction from like cheek to chin to the underside of the jawline, make that look smooth and natural. Really hard. All right, I've got the body pretty much sketched out, so now it's time to focus on the bandages. I know that historically, mummies are bandaged very like precisely and uniformly. They have to in order to be preserved the way that they are. But for Halloween, spooky times, it's much creepier to have the bandages kind of like haphazardly wrapped around, so that's what I'm gonna do. That, and I think it makes it look more like wrappings instead of just stripes on the arm. In fact, I kind of wish I had thought about leaving some space in the outline to do like loose bandages. That would have been really cool, but this is all just a live and learn process. I kind of think for the next piece that I'm doing for Inktober, I might put a little bit more time into the sketch and see how that affects the final piece. Because if I had done a more thorough sketch on this, I might have thought to like leave those gaps for loose bandages. I don't know, just a thought. Either way, I think this is coming across pretty well. Okay, so I actually tried something on the legs that I'm pretty happy with. I did these little like segments where there were gaps in the bandages and kind of shaded those in a little bit, like so. I think I'm gonna do that up the arms as well, because it does make everything look a little bit more decayed and kind of sunken in. and just adds to the creepiness of it. So let me add that in real quick. Doing these little tiny like sunken in patches in lieu of probably where I would have put loose bandages. I think that kind of makes the body look a little bit more rotten, and I'm totally here for that. That's exactly what I want. Yeah, it just adds a little tiny itty bitty bit of detail that really makes the piece. Very happy with it. Okay, well, our little mummy is pretty much finished. I might go back and add like a couple details every now and then, but I think it's now time to work on the background because there's not much more I can do on this guy. So I think we're gonna start actually right to left, which I know you normally shouldn't do because you don't want your hand like dragging over the ink. But in my experience so far, microns are really good about not smudging, and everything on the right is kind of overlapping everything behind it. So like the drawers and the shelf here are gonna be overlapping this plant, which is gonna be overlapping the windowsill. So I wanna work right to left so I don't accidentally put lines where something is going to be covering it. I think I'm gonna work on that off camera. I don't really have much else to say about the line art of this part, so I will meet you guys back here when it comes time for shading. All right, see you in a bit. Hi guys, welcome back. It is a different day. My time-lapse camera ran out of battery as I was working on the piece yesterday, but it's been charging all night. It's good to go now. I think I've finally gotten it down to where like my cameras are in sync with their battery life. I did finish the line art for this piece on the time-lapse camera. So now all I have to do for this one is erase the pencil marks and start shading with my grayscale pencils. I am noticing, and I don't know if this is me just like not taping the paper down properly or if the ink is kind of making the paper buckle a little bit, but it is getting a little loose. So that's just something I'm gonna have to watch out for when I'm erasing so that I don't tear anything. But this has been sitting for a couple minutes, so I'm just gonna go ahead and start erasing everything. I am not an ink expert by any means, but I do highly recommend microns because they seem to be pretty beginner friendly and relatively smudge proof. Obviously, if you were to do like a line and immediately smear over it, it would probably smudge while it was still wet, but they do dry down pretty quickly. I'm gonna have to erase the majority of this piece, like go over the entire paper with the eraser because I know I screwed up a lot on the initial sketch phase. I am excited to see how this looks though, once all the pencil marks are gone. I don't know how long the skeletons video is going to be yet. I have not started editing that one, but I have a feeling this one is going to be significantly shorter just because of the sheer size of that piece. There was so much going on in there, and then this one is just very simple by comparison. And I think I've said this before, but I do think that skeleton piece is going to be like the most complex, most intensive piece that I have planned for this year. So glad I got that out of the way early. By the way, I forgot to mention this in the first video, but I do have my official Inktober prompt list posted on my Instagram if you want to follow along there and see what I'm doing next. I posted it a few days before October started so that anyone who wanted to do the same prompt list as me could, but I kept it very ambiguous, I guess is the right word. I didn't say like skeletons going through TSA or mummy having a spa day. I just listed all the monsters that I'm going to be doing and in what order. So for the first day I put skeletons, for the second day I put mummy. I don't have it in front of me right now, so you're gonna have to wait till the end of this video to see what the third day is, unless you want to go look it up. All right, looking good. I do want to take this moment to kind of point out a few things that I screwed up on, or if I was just given the chance to redo this piece, I would have done differently. First and foremost is the back of this shelf right here. These were just meant to be like a cabinet and then a shelf attached to the wall. There was not supposed to be a backing to this, but I accidentally inked in a guiding line because I wanted the back of the cabinet to line up with the back of the shelf. So I had a guiding line right here. And while I was inking, I accidentally inked in that line because I thought it was a sketch line. So I kind of had to rearrange this setup to be a full like shelf display instead of just a shelf that's hanging on the wall. I definitely wish I could redo this sort of like side table display stand right here. I think I mentioned it when we were working on it, but I wish I had thought to make this table runner go lengthwise across the table so that I could be draping down this side. And then of course there's a couple like inking mistakes where I just sort of went outside of my line art, made it a little bit thicker than necessary because I had to go back over and correct it. But for the most part, I think this is pretty solid. I think considering my skill level, this is a pretty good job so far. I think I'm just being a little bit more brazen with it. But let's go ahead and move on to this shading, which is the final part. I did include like the darker outlines around the character, and I did one around the entire shelf unit and one around the entire plant, but I didn't like separate out the leaves or anything. I kind of just wanted to keep everything very like separated, but also joined together. And what I mean by that is like I separated the plant from the shelving unit, but I didn't do the darker outline on anything inside the shelving unit, and I didn't do the darker outline on any of the leaves inside the plant because I wanted to kind of keep those conjoined together into one item. Need to figure out which brushes I'm using here. Where's my brush pens? Oh, they're already out. I am kind of thinking this piece could use a little bit more cross-hatching, which is the lined shading that I've got going on. So I think I'm gonna just sort of dabble around with that a little bit. Add that to a couple more spots because it was definitely very prevalent in the skeleton piece. And I want these pieces to look like a set, so I need to do a little bit more cross-hatching to make this one look more uniform to the skeleton piece. Gonna do some under the neck here. I'm a little scared to do this because the neck is at such a weird angle. But this is usually what I do on my characters to kind of add a little bit of shadow underneath the chin, and I do think I like that actually, so that turned out well. Throw a little bit on the side of the pillow here so we can tell that it's supposed to be a little bit of like a square shape. I was going for like a memory foam kind of pillow shape instead of like a really soft feathery pillow. I really love doing this shading technique. I'll even do it when I'm sketching a piece digitally. I'll just include the crosshatch shading to kind of remind myself where the shading is going to go as I render the piece. And I love this style specifically because I feel like it adds a lot of extra like texture and detail without cluttering up the piece too much. I'm absolutely obsessed with the towel shaped like the headdress. I'm so glad I came up with that idea. My brain and my mind is wanting me to cross-hatch this entire wall here. Let's instead of cross-hatching this entire wall, I'm going to start with the side of this end table here and see how that looks. The only reason I'm hesitating is because it is a very large surface, so it's just going to take a very long time and a lot of patience and a little bit of hand cramps. I think I can use this as an example to kind of point out how uneven these lines can get. And I know that can be frustrating for a lot of people that want to see that perfection, but honestly, I really just like leaning into the messiness of it. I think it makes the piece look a lot more hand done, a lot more real, to have these little imperfections everywhere. And I just think it adds to the character of a piece. Okay, I do like that. It adds a little bit of interest to this side. However, it looks a little bit more flat than I was expecting. I am tempted, if I'm going to be doing this side of the wall, to do this side of the little window alcove. It wouldn't quite make sense because of course the light coming into this room is coming from the window. However, what I want to do is I want to shade this in and leave a little bit of space around the candle so that it looks like the candle has a bit of a glow. I think that would be really cool. I'm gonna do it. Not being super precise about it, just leaving a little bit of room around that candle flame. So you can kind of see it's giving off a little bit of light. I'll go in on the other side too, I think. And then connect those. That's kind of fun, right? And then I'll just continue that shading up the side of the wall. I am very concerned for the margins on this one because I was not very precise with the tape, so I don't know what exactly that's going to look like. Yeah, I think that looks like it's casting a little bit of a glow there. Okay, that's actually really fun. All right, now I've kind of done enough cross-hatching on the rest of the piece that I do feel it's necessary to do the same thing on this wall. So I have an idea. I think I'm going to make the hallway that this is leading into, this whole side of the paper, just completely black and then kind of fade it into the room. Like the room is light and the rest of the hallway is dark. And then that will give me an excuse to shade this wall because it's going to be in more shadow than the rest of the room. Plus, the mummy is a bit more off-center than I initially expected it to be. I have the thumbnail like almost in the center of the room, and this one he ended up a little bit more off to the side. So I think that by making this area a little bit darker, it'll draw the viewer's eye more towards the subject of the piece, hopefully. So I think I'm gonna start with shading this first. All the cross-hatching is going top left to bottom right, which makes me want to do the opposite on this piece because I've got like the pillow going the opposite way. I've got this going straight up and down. Like my cross-hatching is all over the place and I like it that way, but I feel like we've gone too much symmetrical stuff, and now I want to do the opposite for the wall. This is unfortunately going to be a little bit harder because the reason that I've been going top left to bottom right is because it's easier to drag the pen down that way in a straight line, whereas going in this angle, my hand wants to curve a little bit. I just gotta go slow, just trust the process. This is such an uncomfortable position for my hand to be in, honestly. I'm trying really hard to keep these lines straight and relatively equidistant, and as you can see, I am not achieving that. Okay, wall's finished. Still need to do the baseboard, but that's gonna be a lot easier because I can just do this very quickly. Compared to the wall, these are very quick, very short pen strokes. Still a very uncomfortable position for my hand, but it'll be over soon. This is the whole reason why I wear compression gloves when I do this because, oh, my hand gets so cramped up just from doing those little details at such an odd angle. So what I want to do is I'm actually gonna cut this off here, and then this is going to be kind of where the like darkness of the hallway comes in. So I've just started doing the cross hatching on that with the lighter or the smaller nib, and now I'm going back in with the darker nib and doing some thicker lines. And this way it just will kind of look like a bit of a gradient where the shadow is slowly seeping into the room, and then this whole strip is going to be black. And I think actually I'm going to go ahead and do that now just so I can see what it looks like. And I have this handy dandy pure black brush pen that should be a great help right now. I will say, working on traditional art always helps me be a little bit more confident in my artistic choices because you have to be. Oh, this is actually a really tiny brush pen. I might get a bigger one. You have to be really confident in your artistic choices because they're permanent. Actually, yeah, this is itty bitty. I'm gonna see if I have a different one. All right, I took all my black microns down from their like display spot up there, and I don't have any brushes. So I think I'm just gonna have a quick dig around my studio and see if I can find something. Because I really don't want to fill in that huge gap with just the like smaller point of a micron. All right, while I was looking around, I actually found 2 more microns and a handful of Sharpies of, I'm sure, varying dryness. So I'm gonna test these out real quick. Oh, first one's really good. I guess I don't need to test the rest of these. That's a project for another day. Yeah, I think I'm just gonna use Sharpie because I don't know if these are alcohol based or not, so I don't know if Sharpie is gonna be like hugely visually different, but I don't really have another option right now. I think it is a little bit visually different. Sharpie, I think, has a little bit more of like a cool blue-green tone to it, and microns, I think, are a little bit more yellowy, and it's really, really hard to tell the difference unless they're right next to each other. But I do really hope this doesn't buckle my paper too much, because I know Sharpies can be a little intense. So I'm just trying to go over this as lightly as possible. Okay, I think I'm pretty happy with that though. I like that really dark area over there. I'm not sure just yet if you're gonna be able to tell the difference in the final piece that I used a different pen over there, but hopefully it'll be fine. Just gonna smooth out this line again because I did kind of ruin it with the Sharpies. I think it's good. I think we're good. All right, so I think the last step to do is to go in with my brush shading. my two gray markers, the light gray and the dark gray. I'm gonna start with the dark gray, methinks, and get obviously some of the darker areas. And right now I think the darkest area is gonna be this hallway. Just gonna go in uniform little stripes, trying not to overlap too much, because I did notice on the skeleton piece that wherever I did overlap, you could definitely tell that there were some like marks there. Although it doesn't help if I don't touch the other marker at all. Like, you know, when you're working with markers, and especially if you've got some particularly dry ones, you can see where you've sort of drawn over it. I'm trying to avoid that as best as possible. All right, my mom came in to ask me something and now I don't remember where I left off. But yeah, I think I was just discussing how I'm trying to be as careful as possible to not let the marker overlap itself, but that's obviously going to be impossible because I am only human. So I'm just trying to reduce it as much as I can. Kind of feel like filling in these gaps is actively working against that goal of trying to get no marker marks, no pen marks, no brush marks. But I'm not sure what else I can do. So that's what's happening with that. All right, and then I'm not sure anything else in the room needs to be that dark. Kind of thinking just maybe anywhere that needs to be shaded in these heavily cross-hatch shaded sections, because the gray is just not gonna show up there as well. So I'm just kind of going into the corners like this and shading these areas. And then I want to color in this speaker. I know the little like speaker parts are gonna be gray, so I think I'll do the dark gray. When I said gray for the speaker parts, I meant light gray. So I think I'll do the dark gray for this little screen here, maybe for the buttons. And the rest is gonna be white. These two speakers are gonna be a light gray, and then the little like Apple scroll wheel in the middle I think is also gonna be a light gray. Trying to think of what else might need to be shaded a little darker. But I think we're pretty good, and I can go in with the light gray. I'm trying to get a little bit more shading into this area just so that this doesn't look so stark. Maybe this pot, just kind of do the whole thing. I'm gonna do it. Need a little bit more contrast over here. If anyone has a better technique of how to use these brush pens, please let me know in the comments, because I feel like I'm doing this wrong. I feel like I'm doing this very, very wrong, actually. Like, I'm just not sure how to get these to work correctly without having a bunch of like brush strokes all over the place. We could just pretend that's like a wood planter or something, I guess. Okay, but I think we've got enough of the dark gray in there, so I'm just gonna finish off with the light gray. Where'd that go? Here it is. And this is gonna be just for the basic shading of pretty much everything. I think I'm gonna color in the candles with this light gray color, just to distinguish them from the glass. And I'm leaving a little bit of white at the top of the candle to indicate that, again, you've got the glow from the fire. You wanna be able to see that. They're all gonna be the same color, because why in the world would you mix candles of different scents at a luxury spa like this? That's ridiculous. All right, and then like I said on this one, coloring in these speaker parts with the light gray. With the other piece, I actually had quite a few brush strokes with the light gray, so I don't mind doing that same thing again and getting a lot of brush strokes on here. Ooh, if I go over it twice though, that kind of looks almost exactly like the dark gray, so I gotta be careful with that. I want to color this window frame in to distinguish it from the outside, which is supposed to be very light and bright. And then yeah, I think I'm just gonna go around and kind of shade everything that needs to be shaded to give it a little bit of dimension. And I have to stream today in a little over an hour, so I think I'm gonna turn off my face cam and just let the time-lapse camera run, and I will come back tomorrow to update you guys with the final product. All right, I'll see you in a little bit. Hi guys, welcome back. This is all finished. I am super happy with how it turned out, and I'm super, super happy with how quickly I was able to do this. I think I kind of threw myself off with how long it took me to do the skeleton Inktober, because obviously there was a lot going on in that one. I really thought they were all gonna take a really, really long time, but this one actually took no time at all. I think I was able to get it done in like 3 drawing sessions, which is amazing. And it kind of makes me super pumped for the rest of these. That first one was a little rough, but if the rest of them go this smoothly, I am like super, super excited to get started on them. Ooh, look at that wonky margin. It's way thicker up here than it is down here. Well, I guess it's not too bad. I'm still on the fence about this artist tape. I really don't know if I like it or not. I mean, it's definitely, like, it helps because it keeps the canvas stationary, that's for sure. You know what I just realized I should have done before I took that piece off is put a little shadow underneath the bed. Oh well. Yeah, it keeps the canvas stationary, but I'm just not sure if it's, like, look at that. It's definitely peeling up bits of the paper, and I'm a little disappointed about that. Wow, okay, these margins were way off. Oh wow, I might have to trim the top of this paper, because look at that. The top and the bottom, but the top especially, is way larger than the side margins, and this one's just ridiculously tiny for some reason. That's okay, live and learn. But there she is. That's the finished Inktober Day 2 piece. We've got a mummy at a spa, and I absolutely love it. Plant especially, I really, really like how that one turned out. And the like glow around the candles. I think that's very fun as well. Oh, I can't wait to do more of these. Like, this is actually making me really, really excited to do the rest of this series. Anyway, if you want to see this piece in full, it is going up on my Instagram today, the exact same time that this video is being uploaded. So you can find it there. I'm also going to be posting little time lapses of these to TikTok. So if you want to see just the time lapse of me drawing it and not me talking into the camera at all, you can go find those videos over there. You can also catch me on Twitch. We do some art streams and some game streams over there. And then lastly, if you want to support this channel just a little bit more, you can also find me on Patreon. You can support me for as little as $1 a month, and you get exclusive content for as little as $3 a month. All of those socials, of course, can be found under Threadwing. And I also currently have art stickers available on my Ko-Fi shop. If you want to find those, it's just ko-fi.com/threadwing/shop. And then lastly, make sure you subscribe to this channel so you can find your way back here for next week's video. Next week is going to be this, because I can't remember what the list is right now, but I'll memorize it eventually. But this is going to be our theme for next week's video. For the month of October, I'm putting out a new video every Tuesday and Saturday for my Inktober series, so look forward to that. I hope you guys have a great rest of your week, and I will see you all on Tuesday. Bye!